I feel like overall, Steven Universe actually did a great job teaching us about the value of communication, but...
Onion's dad?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat that?
I can't hear you!
Yeah, one really compelling theory states that Onion and his stepfather Yellowtail are simply speaking in a foreign language. That's only coming across as being gibberish because of the fact that the show is presented to us from Steven's perspective. Don't get me wrong, this isn't a bad theory by any means, and it does seem to fit a few puzzle pieces together nicely, but it still doesn't explain Onion and Yellowtail's other lingeringly weird character traits.
What?
If you don't mind, I have a theory of my own that does explain where Onion and his stepfather truly come from, backed by 4 huge pieces of evidence of course. Exhibit A, Vidalia is actually a type of onion, a fact that we can't ignore. Exhibit B, Onion canonically has a birth tape, meaning that we can safely rule out any headcanons that he's some kind of gem hybrid like Steven. Exhibit C, sentient plant life created by Steven have been shown to evolve and branch off from their original form unnaturally fast, proven by there being an entire watermelon-based civilization and watermelon sharks all within a few months. Exhibit D, Yellowtail, Onion, and the Watermelon Stevens all communicate in the exact same way. Additionally, Vidalia and Sour Cream have both been shown to be able to understand this mysterious language, which leads me to conclude that, similarly to how Steven accidentally sparked the creation of a watermelon civilization, I'm thinking that Rose Quartz accidentally sparked the creation of the Onion Rose civilization, which over the course of thousands of years evolved into a few of the characters living in Beat City that we've known since the beginning of the series. This will not only explain why Onion and Yellowtail act so incredibly weird, but it would also explain why they share the exact same voice actor as the Pebbles on a Homeworld and the Watermelon Stevens on Earth. That voice actor being none other than Zach Callison, also known as being the voice actor for Steven himself. It's because the Watermelon Stevens, the Pebbles, and Onion are literally all related to Steven.
Hey, that's pretty good.
We can debate the plausibility of my theory in the comments section, but for now, getting back on track to the topic at hand. Why was communication more valued than discipline on Steven Universe? I mean, children never got punished for their bad behaviors on the show, at least not when it would actually be beneficial.
Priceless. There are some things money can't buy.
Steven himself was practically begging Greg to enforce some law and order into his life when he crashed the van, but Onion was arguably in an even worse position. Both of his parents let him do basically anything that he wanted to without any repercussions, leading to him breaking into buildings and engaging in a barrage of other questionable activities. But would you be shocked to find out that Onion's worst offense wasn't actually featured on the show? Created by Rebecca Sugar herself, Steven Universe issue number 22 reviewed the results of Yellowtail and Vidalia's incredibly lax parenting style, while also showing us the consequences of his parenting style on Onion's young mind. The comic issue being set after the events of Storm in the Room opens with our boy Steven deep in thought when Amethyst uncharacteristically begins to clean the surrounding area. It's revealed that Amethyst was excitedly tidying up the temple in preparation for a visit from Vidalia and Onion. Amethyst explains to Steven that she was hoping this dinner party would help both of them cope with awareness of a recent adventure in space. But before Steven would get the chance to object to Amethyst's logic, Vidalia and Onion would already be standing at their front door. Welcoming the crystal gems back to Earth, Vidalia brings a painting of Amethyst's new form, and Onion brings out of Steven created from the pieces of his leftover lunch. So the dinner party begins with Amethyst admitting that Pearl was the one who prepared all of her food, but Vidalia would soon find out that Amethyst also decided to add a hint of fire salt to her dish. Hilariously enough, both Vidalia and Onion are revealed to love the taste and side effects of the fire salt, leading to Vidalia asking Amethyst to sprinkle a little bit more over her food. After a night of Amethyst having the time of her life with Vidalia, and Steven struggling to keep a smile on his face while playing video games with Onion, the comic issue would take a dark turn. Amethyst decides to show Vidalia around her room, leading to Onion sneaking inside of the temple for the first time while dragging Steven along with him for the ride. While Amethyst attempts to find the best best pile of trash to stick Vidalia's painting into. Steven, being led by Onion's mischievous mind, face plants off of Amethyst's trampoline. Onion, being in Amethyst's room for no longer than a minute, would decide to dive headfirst into a tiny puddle, leading Steven to reluctantly chasing after him. Realizing that they mistakenly found themselves in Pearl's room, Steven begs Onion to leave the temple with him, but almost as if being led by a greater purpose, Onion would decide to dive into another pool of water instead. A pool of water that led Onion directly to the burning room. Steven, hurriedly following Onion into the burning room, causes him to nearly have a heart attack when he notices that Onion was moments away from releasing one of the bubble gems. In a desperate attempt to keep Onion from endangering the lives of everyone inside of the temple, Steven begs him to stop, and surprisingly, without even thinking, Onion listens to him. We learn that Onion was simply trying to cheer Steven up using the exact same method that he uses to cheer himself up as well, being putting himself in mortal danger. With Steven's approval, Onion climbs up into Rose's room, leading to the duo finding common ground and genuinely enjoying each other's company for the rest of the evening. Steven and Amethyst, thankful for having one of the most refreshing dinners of their lives, wave goodbye to their guests. Onion using danger to keep himself sane is one thing, but like I mentioned earlier, he wasn't the only victim of lax parenting. Not even close. Created by Rebecca Sugar herself, Steven Universe issue number 16 not only showed us the results of passive parenting on the minds of developing teenagers, but it also provided us with more proof as to why Amethyst is the most mature crystal gem. The comic issue being set after the events of Know Your Fusion opens with Steven and Amethyst going to Fish Stew Pizza in order for them to enjoy a pizza-themed breakfast. Jenny, excited to share the music from her favorite band with new people, lets Steven and Amethyst listen to one of their newest songs, causing both of them to instantly become fans. Jenny then further explains that she was planning on going to the band's house show later that night before her father Kofi decides to jump into the conversation, and reminds Jenny that her hands would be needed to help the business prepare for its busiest day. Jenny, feeling defeated, would get the devious idea of sneaking out of Fish to Peter to attend the party anyway because of Kiki of all people. Steven worries that if the sisters were caught sneaking out, they'd both get in trouble, but Jenny reassures him that their father was all bark and no bite. So, not even the parents who were portrayed as being strict on the show had the willpower to consistently reinforce their own rules. Later that evening, the rebellious sisters would meet up with Steven and Amethyst, leading all of them to heading out of Beat City and making their way to the house show. With Kiki guiding the group using her phone's navigational system, they'd find themselves literally driving in circles for hours, causing all of them to start panicking. Eventually, Kiki's phone would manage to convince the group to travel down a dark and abandoned route, which mysteriously leads them to getting a flat tire soon after. Desperate for them to get out of this dangerous situation in one piece, Jenny quickly comes up with the idea of pushing her car the rest of the way to the party, but they'd soon come to realize that this wasn't the most realistic idea. Amethyst then attempts to push the car herself while harnessing the power of her purple puma form, but this proves to be just as ineffective as Jenny's plan. As the minutes passing turned into even more hours, the Peter sisters would come to terms with calling their father for help, and Steven would come to terms with calling his father for help, but neither of them would have the luxury of holding onto their phones for much longer. A mysterious shadowy figure moving at superhuman speeds leaps out of the bushes and snatches Steven and Kiki's phones, causing the entire group to start fearing for their lives. Steven and Amethyst, having plenty of experience dealing with corrupted gems, prepare themselves for the worst, while Kiki begs Jenny to call Kofi using her phone before the shadowy figure made another move. Jenny, reasonably being fearful of having another awkward conversation with her father, decides to call Buck and Sour Cream instead, but because of the fact that they were both already at the party, this call would prove to be a complete waste of time. When the shadowy figure sounds an unspeakably loud roar from behind the bushes, Amethyst advises Jenny that there are times when even the fun sisters should take situations seriously, especially when the lives of their loved ones are on the line. Steven and Amethyst form smoky quartz in order for them to gain the physical strength needed to take on their mysterious pursuer, while Jenny and Kiki gain the emotional strength needed to call their father for help. Using their heightened senses, Smoky Quartz launches their yo-yo into the bushes directly at their pursue her, but this would prove to be a huge mistake. After Smokey Quartz failed to remedy the concerning situation, Jenny and Kiki would contact their father, but instead of scolding his daughters, the thought of losing both of them forever causes Kofi to make his way to their location as soon as possible. Lion being revealed to be the shadowy figure leads Smokey Quartz to finally being able to let their guard down and breathe a sigh of relief. Jenny and Kiki would be reunited with Steven and Amethyst after mustering up the courage to investigate the bushes, and within a few minutes all of them would be reunited with Greg and Kofi as well. With help from Amethyst, Greg manages to quickly repair Jenny's car, and after grounding his daughters for a month, Kofi makes sure to let both of them know that he'd be completely fine with letting them attend any and every party that they wanted to from now on. Way to stand your ground, man. The majority of the youth living in Beat City were born into families that gave them unlimited amounts of freedom. Discipline and punishment are just as important as communication and freedom when it comes to effective parenting though. And the fact that the show made sure to show us some of the horrible side effects of a childhood void of punishment proves that the series at least took this concept into consideration.